Welcome back everyone to our second attempt of our second race of the night here in France at Paul Ricard. After connection issues, we couldn't start the second race, so we had to take the lobby down and try it again now. The weather is still beautiful, it's still dry, sunny, very good conditions for all the guys, and hopefully we can continue with the second race of the night, because if not, we have to do that next week, because in 25 minutes in for the Darwin League, and because a lot of people are also competing in there, we have to get that timing issue out of the way and just postpone it. But for the moment it seems fine. Let's hope for the best. That's pretty much it. 10 seconds to go until we start with our formation lap here in France. That track is really difficult, especially because it really invites you to use its curbs, but if you're not aware enough, those curves just spit you out and send you spinning all straight into the wall. So it's really tricky to master this track in a good fashion, as we are starting on our formation lap, and Paul has a very slow start to that formation lap, losing a position here and there. It's not too wild because it's just the formation lap. So all the other guys around him showed him, I'm here and I can overtake you at the start. It's always mental warfare. That's what F1 is about. It's also about watching the telemetry of all the other guys and the full track map, so you can see where your favorite driver is. And we'll also take a look at position changes, pit stops and penalties, and also of course in the beginning we will take a look at the tire choice, and it looks quite similar to what we've seen early on. So the first 5 guys start on mediums again. The 3 behind, Eskimo, G-Mac, Castle again on softs, Moshe on mediums, Dicunia on softs, and then we have Seb, Walterby, Sebdeg and Lando on mediums, and Mumram on softs. And I think Lando started on softs in the first attempt. Oh, and Paul sent his car spinning on the formation lap. Not too bad, because you don't get penalized for that. So the guys were allowed to change the tires if they want to for the second race, because we haven't been racing and there's no advantage or disadvantage prior to qualifying or something, because that grid is sorted out based on the results of the race before, and it has no influence on the tire choice. That's why we allowed them to use whatever tire they want. Fortunately for them, the track is still dry. As they come around the last corner. So hopefully everyone is able to ready up. We are. And we have 5 red lights going out right now. And that causes 3 drive-thrus because people were too impatient. 3. Oh my God. Oh my God. What has just happened? So we have 3 drive-thrus, a safety car, 3 DNFs on the first lap. Your Septep and Mumram, they crashed into each other, they died. We have wing damage, we have drive-thrus, we have a safety car. What a horrible start to the race. What a horrible start. That is Spa 98 feelings all over. That is not a good look, to say the least, but it happened. So we have 3 DNFs on the first lap. We have a little bit of damage. We have 3 drive-throughs. Rob in P1 with the drive-through, Ryan Van Doom in P3, and Eskimo in P6 with the drive-through. So let's see if we can spot some damage on those cars here. Casto is in P8. I think he hasn't won or lost a position. Oh, G-Mac is losing positions because he spun behind the safety car. Okay, you can do that. I think he's coming in. Yeah, he's coming in. A lot of guys are coming in now. Eskimo getting a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Plus the drive-through, of course. Yeah, a lot of cars are in now. Let's see if we have double stacks anywhere. What about Boltex? He's coming in. But I think the timing is good enough to not double stack with his teammate. He's coming in. Right now they're changing the... yeah, okay, it's a little bit, but it's a safety car. He needs his wing change. It's the full package plus the drink. So everything Gucci here for him. He was in last, he stays in last, and Rob, Ryan Van Doom and Paul, they just decide to make it as close as they can behind the safety car. Ryan Van Doom almost overtaken Rob here. How you can do that? It's not a big deal at all. You can just go for an overtake behind the safety car. Because it's safe. That's why it's called safety car. The overtakes are safe then. And Paul in net P1 for the moment because Ryan Van Doom and Rob ahead of him. They both have the drive-through penalty. Moshe behind in P4, aka net P2. Then Sebastian, Walter B, Lando, G-Mac, Eskimo, Acuna, Casto, and Boltex. We'll take a look at the pit stops to see if everyone was in. No, only G-Mac to Boltex, so P8 to P12. The top 7 guys haven't been in, and 2 of them have a drive-through. Eskimo has pitted, but he still has the drive-through, so he will take that, I guess, pretty early on after the first lap to get it out of the way, because you never know what happens in that race. You never know if there's another safety car coming up after crash, maybe after the restart, because people will be freaking impatient, as they are always. So let's see what happens. The safety car is probably staying out for another lap. The pack is bunched up together, but safety car will be staying out for lap 3. Ryan Van Doom is coming into the pits now. And he just wanted to wait another lap. He's probably pitting for softs. He just wanted to wait another lap to make them go the distance 1 lap shorter. Yeah, and he's coming in for the soft tires, which means he's in last place, of course. And he will have the drive-through still to take, which will also save maybe 1 or 2% on the tires after all, but it will also cost him around half a minute, because that pit lane in France is almost as painful as the one in Silverstone. Rob is still in P1, Paul behind him in P2, followed by Moshe, Sebastian, Walter, Lando, G-Mac, Eskimo in P8, Acuna P9, and then Casto, Boltex, and Ryan Van Doom in P12. It's now crucial to warm the tyres because the safety car will probably come in at the end of lap 3. And if you have cold tyres on this track in hard braking zones, you're pretty much fucked. To say it like it is. Paul Almost went for an overtake here against Rob. Of course, Paul wants to have clean air because he's in net P1, but sometimes it's not like that. Oh, safety car with an early announcement that it will come in. So a lot of time for the guys behind to prepare for the restart. So the safety car is into the pits right now, and Rob has every right to dictate the pace however he wants, and he can now start this race again, but he doesn't want to give Paul a good opportunity here. Oh, Paul is taking a very wide line, but he just wanted to hide that he had a shit line early on, so Rob saw it coming. He made it work. Nice one. Oh, and someone is losing positions here. It's Eskimo who's coming in, but why? Why? Why are you coming in, mate? Coming in with a 5-second time penalty to get removed and get softs on. And Ryan Van Doom, I think Ryan Van Doom was able to get the driver removed now. But of course you're not getting removed if the restart is still happening. You have to stay out for one lap and then get it removed by driving into the pits. Yeah, so Ryan Van Doom has it removed and Eskimo hasn't, because he was probably coming in before Rob was even restarting that race. Now, that's not really clever. Lando and Castor are fighting for P6. Castor already did his pit stop, Lando hasn't. And G-Mac, who already did a pit stop, overtook Lando. He's up to P6. Rob was able to get a second of the gap between himself and Paul for the moment. Sorry. The gap is coming down. Now let's see if Rob is coming in. Well, Rob is staying out for another lap. Hey, he's playing with Paul's nerves here. Sebastian in P3 at the moment, Moshe P4. And Castle still very close behind Lando. Trying to get him out of the way. Himself has the Cunha behind around a second, but still within DRS range. That's crucial. Oh, and Rob gets a 3-second time penalty on top of his drive-through. And Castor is now really close to Lando. Lando using ERS to defend from Castor. Castor not even using one single bit of it. But not losing any time on Lando here, trying to get better grip on the line. And he's now going for it. But he stops using the ERS, making Lando use a little bit more. Showing himself on the inside here. Switching to the outside. Maybe doing the switchback. He is doing the switchback. They touch a little bit. Side by side. It's nice to watch, but it's dumb to do for Casto. Because he has everything to lose here, to be honest. Because he's not fighting against Lando in the championship. Lando's just a reserve driver. Rob is now coming in for the drive-through, which gives Castor another position, P7 for him now. Lando still has to pit. Only G-Mac ahead already has pitted, so it's net P2 for Castor at the moment. But just drive smart instead of driving hard. It makes no sense. Yellow flag, sector 1. There's someone going off. It's Paul. He turned round. P9 for him now after the spin. And another position for all the guys up front there. DRS activated now. Lando going for the overtake against G-Mac, and Casto possibly doing the same down the inside. And that's what I mean by driving smart instead of hard. He's just unsettling those cars in front of him. If they spin and crash into him, he's done. So, to be honest, that driving is not very high on IQ. Because you just have to be smart and smooth, and you have to dictate the pace and the rhythm. If you're just putting the nose everywhere in, you're at high risk of crashing or spinning or get spun. So maybe that's something he can and will work on for the whole season. He had enough time last season and he binned it, but it doesn't seem like he's really learned from it. But he has to. If he wants to win that championship, he has to learn from that. Right now he's in P5, which means net P1 at the moment, and getting a penalty. 3 seconds here. There's no need to get any penalty. And all the guys in front haven't pitted yet. So happy days at the moment for Castro Di Cunha, G-Mac and Boltex King. Sebastian is leading that pack in P1 at the moment. And he will lead the pack into the chicane. Oh, and there we have a moment between Lando and Mosha, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Was in the braking zone, going for the chicane, and Castro now losing positions. He has damage. To be honest, I'm not surprised at all. It's down to his, probably, I'm not sure, I haven't seen it, but it's probably down to his self-destructive driving style. And he's coming into the pits again, and Sebastian and Walter be also 5-second penalty for Castro. So to be honest, I can't watch you anymore, Castro, because it's giving me a huge headache. It's absolutely embarrassing what you're doing there, you know that. So we're jumping back with Mosha, who's now in P1. Di Cunha going from net P2 to net P1 now, as he's only 3/10s behind Mosha. He has a penalty to his name, 3 seconds. G-Mac behind in P3 without a penalty at the moment. So this race is still yet to be decided. Oh, G-Mac had a big moment there. But still within DRS range to Di Cunha, who will probably overtake Mosha now for P1. Oh, no DRS. He hasn't activated it, so he wants to stay behind Mosha. Maybe he just doesn't want to have any battles here on track, and just wait for Mosha to pit and then have clean air to make something work. Now he's shown himself in the mirrors of Mosha going down the inside, side by side. Yeah, maybe he's just feeling more comfortable here. He made it work. P1 for him in the infield. Mosha probably coming into the pits and maybe holding up G-Mac a little bit here, which could help Di Cunha. Yeah, Mosha coming into the pits. G-Mac, our new P2. And he is around a second behind Di Cunha, I think. That's 9-10, no DRS at the moment, but he's low on ERS, very, very low on ERS. So as long as Di Cunha can hold G-Mac behind out of the DRS window, there's still a chance he could possibly finish ahead of him. Paul, after his spin, great recovery, up to P3, he has 6 seconds to his name, which is not very good, but after that spin, everything seemed to be going downhill. So P3 for the moment is still looking good. G-Mac gets a penalty for taking the widest line I've ever seen there onto the main straight. And Boltex in P4 is the one who could possibly have the biggest laugh out of them all, because he's still penalty free, and he's Rob gets a penalty. He's down to P11. Walterby in P5, and he's on fresh soft. So watch out for Walterby at the end of the race. We still have 4.5 laps to go. The gap is 13.7 at the moment, but he's the quickest car on track right now. So let's see if he's able to close that gap as far as he can to maybe gain another position here. Coming down to penalties maybe. As G-Mac and Paul are fighting hard, which helps D'Cunha a lot. Because the gap to G-Mac has gone up to 1.7 seconds now. And it was around 9:10 one lap ago. So that helps him a lot. Sebastian is in P6, also on softs, and his teammate Casto is in P9 with 8 seconds of penalties to his name. Ryan Van Doom getting 13 seconds all in one. And coming into the pits now, maybe DNFing, getting a 5 seconds. He is up to 24, so it's really close to disqualification, but he ends it early for himself. DNF for Ryan Van Doom. Castle with the fastest lap. Now, yeah, there's someone gone. Paul. Paul is gone again. He spun again. Down to P4. Where is Walter? There is Walterby. And that's the position Walterby was seeing there. He's now a second behind Paul. Paul with 6 seconds, so that's net P4 for Walterby at the moment. Boltex now at P3, very close to G-Mac. And he needs to get rid of G-Mac to go for possible race win here. Because he's only 3.3 behind D'Cunha, and D'Cunha has the penalty. So let's see if he's able to get rid of G-Mac as quick as he can. And then go after P1. Because even if he doesn't get it, it would be a 1-2 for Alpine at France. Imagine that. The French car in France. It's more unrealistic than Haas winning the US GP. Walter overtaking Paul now on the pit straight. Paul with 9 seconds now to his name. There's some big clouds coming, so let's see if we maybe get a little bit of rain on the penultimate or last lap. We are now on lap 11 of 13. And Sebastian also smelling that blood here. He's P6 and net P5 because of the penalty of Paul, of course. And Boltex hasn't managed to overtake G-Mac. Not yet. And as long as G-Mac is behind D'Cunha, Boltex won't overtake D'Cunha. Because G-Mac is just that little bit slower. He's losing a tenth or two per lap. And Boltex is also losing that. Mosher now with the penalty. 3 seconds to his name in P9. Castle in P8 now, but he has 8 seconds to his name, so he needs to push really hard to just get P8. No comment on that, of course, after the race he created for himself. Walter in P4 at the moment, and he's closing in slowly but steadily. 7.8, it's around 8 seconds to G-Mac, and he has 3 seconds of penalties. So Walter needs to have 2 really good push laps to just make G-Mac more nervous, and then there could be something in the bush. Let's see if he's able to do that. Paul getting another penalty. Oh, well, that Walter got that for that one. Well, Paul gets another one. And Castro gets another one, because why not? 12 to Paul's name, 11 to Castro's. And we have a spin. That's Lando, I think. Yeah, Lando has spun, or got spun, I'm not sure. End result, P9 for him, for the moment. Of course he will get at least 1 position back, because Castro has 11 seconds of penalties. And Walterby has closed that gap by another second. Walterby, I think he senses it, that he gets a second to 1.5 per lap. And if he can push for the next lap now and get another 1.5 seconds, it could get stressful for GMAC in a very high fashion. Because one more penalty and Walterby is through here. So the gap is now around 6 seconds to GMAC. So one more penalty and Walterby is quicker. I think he can't make up 3 seconds on that lap. Disqualified. Paul is disqualified for not using the correct compound. So it seems like he has not pitted yet. He's out of the race, which gives all the guys behind him another position. And Walterby is still pushing hard to maybe get another position here. And Boltax has now overtaken GMAC finally. Let's see if he can make something here on the last sector. And it's really dark now. It's really dark. GMAC is using his last bits of ERS. The gap is 5 seconds to Walterby, so he needs another 2 seconds, which is not realistic. I think it's not there, but you never know what happens in that last sector. We've seen so many things happen here. GMAC is still in P3, and Baltic's just able to get 2 tenths on Decunia here, but he doesn't care one bit, because he's coming home for a win at France after a beautiful performance in Monza. Decunia clinches the win in France. His teammate Boltax is in P2, GMAC P3, Walterby coming home in P4, Sebastian crossing the line in P5 for another great performance for himself and for Mercedes. Castro over the line in P6, but Moshe overtaking him. Castro down to P7, Lando overtaking him, so Castro's down to P8. And then Rob in P9, Eskimo in P10 will finish that race in a bit. Rob coming across the line, P9 for him. Eskimo the last man on track for the moment. And he will finish in P10. We follow him on board through those last bits as the sun is again coming out a little bit. Eskimo coming around the last corner to finish that race in P10 and get some solid points for himself and for Red Bull. His teammate Moshe finished in P6, I think, so good solid points for Red Bull here at France, even though it might not seem as a good performance or something like that, but at the end of the day it's all about scoring good, consistent, solid points. That's what helps you a lot in the first place. But what also helps you a lot is a win, especially when it's a 1-2 for Alpine. In France, Decunia wins that race ahead of Boltex King, who had a strong performance here in France. P3 goes to GMAC, who also had a great show in here at France. And in a few moments we have the final results. Decunia from P10 to P1 again, gaining 9 positions. Boltex P2, GMAC P3, Walterby finishing in P4, another strong performance after his win in Monza. Sebastian in P5, very consistent. Moshe P6, Lando in P7, Castor P8, Rob in P9, Eskimo, your last finisher here in France, in P10. Paul got disqualified for not using the correct tires. I'm not sure about that. I haven't controlled that, of course. But if the game says so, it should be alright. Ryan Van Doom DNF'd from this race in the pits. Your Sepdek and Momram DNF'd at the start. in a huge crash, which resulted first in the virtual and then in a full course safety car. So that's a wrap for tonight, boys. Thank you all for joining and tuning in. Thank you all for your patience between race number 1 and race number 2. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe and stay, of course, healthy. And good night. Take care.